Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. And today's video, as you can probably tell from the title, is going to be about contouring your nose. Now, part 1 of this series is already up, and it is about how you can contour the face, different face types. So definitely do go back and watch that. Also guys, if you are not subscribed, make sure that you are subscribed and that you also ring the notification bell so that you guys are notified each time I upload. So with that being said, let's get started with this video. So generally speaking, there are basically 7 types of nose shapes. You have the long nose, the short nose, the narrow nose, the wide nose, the bumpy or the crooked nose, you have the bottom heavy nose, and then you have the flat nose. So if you have a long nose, then your celebrity twins are Meryl Streep and Beth Behrs. And as you can see, both of these women are extremely pretty and beautiful. And you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with their face, but if someone was to ask me that they have a nose like theirs and they wanted to contour it to make it shorter, so I would tell them the techniques that I'm about to tell you guys. So with any of these nose types, I'm not trying to make fun of anyone. I'm not saying that one particular person doesn't look good or whatever. You can have any of the nose types and look beautiful. So please don't be offended by this, or don't take this personally. This is purely for teaching you guys the techniques. So when it comes to contouring a long nose type, the number one mistake that I see people make is that they start from the eyebrows and then they contour all the way down to the tip of the nose. And that is not how you want to contour a long nose, because what that does is that it essentially but enhances the length of the nose. You know, if you draw a dark line from your eyebrows all the way to the tip of your nose, the length is going to be more prominent, it's going to be enhanced. So to avoid that, what you want to do is you want to either start from the crease of your eye, or you can start from the level of the inner corner of your eye. And then you're gonna stop the contour where the nose kind of gets like flashy, and the bulbous part of the nose, the flashy part of the nose, that's when you're gonna want to stop. And then you're gonna want to contour the tip of the nose, and you don't want the contour on the tip of your nose to join with the contour above. So that is basically just going to shorten your nose. Another thing that you can do is, because naturally with noses that are short, there is no shadow underneath the nose. So in order to mimic that, you can actually highlight the area underneath the nose, right directly underneath the nose, and that will visibly make your nose shorter. And this is a trick that I learned from this another YouTuber, and I will definitely link her channel down below. She's really amazing, so you guys should check her out. Alright? Okay, so with Meryl Streep's nose, you can, first of all, you can't tell, but I did highlight with the app the area underneath her nose, even though you can't tell, but I did. So that's the first thing we're gonna do, and then obviously you can see the tip of the nose has been contoured. And then when it gets to the contour on the bridge of the nose, or the sides of the nose, that's where it gets a little bit tricky, because her eyes are already a little bit close together, so we don't want to darken them further. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to contour the sides of the nose, and then we're going to blend that contour to the crease of her eye. We're basically not going to pack any color on the crease of her eye. Instead, we're just going to blend the contour, the side contour, onto her crease. And that's how I would contour Meryl Streep's nose. And basically, I've done the exact same thing on Beth Behrs' nose. And much like Meryl Streep's nose, her eyes are a little bit close together, so I didn't take this all the way to the crease of her eye. Instead, I'm going to stop at the level of the inner corners of her eye, and then maybe blend this the contour, the side nose contour, onto the crease. And then we're going to contour the tip of her nose, and then we're going to highlight the area underneath her nose, as you can see here. Okay, so moving on to a short nose. If you have a short nose, then your celebrity twins are Kylie Jenner and Tati Westbrook. Now, first of all, I feel like any Kylie Jenner fans are basically just going to want to kill me right now. I'm really sorry, guys, but I needed a picture without any makeup and that showed the natural structure of her face, and also that kind of like gave me a good angle of the nose, and this was the only one that I could find on Google. I am so sorry, guys. Please don't, be offended. But yeah, so these are your celebrity twins, okay? Another thing, guys, that I wanted to mention is that notice how Tati's nose, even though it's small, but it looks pretty balanced with the rest of her face. And that is really something that you have to keep in mind, even if the nose is small or long compared to the actual standards of beauty. If it goes along with the face, you want to work with it. But for the sake of showing you guys the technique, I am going to kind of like show you guys how I would contour a short nose, and she was an example of short noses, so I am going to kind of like use her as an example. Alright guys, so you know how we said in the long nose technique that we do not want to start from the eyebrows and make a straight line to the tip of the nose because that enhances the length of the nose. We're going to do the opposite of that. So what we're going to do is we are going to start from the eyebrows and take the contour all the way down to the tip of the nose, because that is going to give an illusion of a more long nose. And then depending on how flat or kind of like protruding your nose is, you can highlight the area in between the two contour lines, or you can skip it. But what you want to highlight is the tip of your nose, because when you highlight the tip of your nose, that is going to kind of like give an illusion of a longer tip of the nose. And also, you want to contour the area underneath your nose, because when a nose is naturally long, this is where it tends to create a shadow. So you want to give the appearance of that shadow, and what that will do is that is going to make the nose appear more longer. So with Tati's nose, what I've done is a very typical, once again, contouring. Started from the eyebrows, took it all the way to the tip of the nose, and contoured underneath the nose as well. Highlighted the area between the contour lines. And I know the nose actually might appear to look a little bit shorter, but if you look closely, that's because the side by side of the contoured picture is actually a little bit more zoomed out because of my stupid faulty camera app. I was trying to use this app to do this, so I kind of messed up the proportions. But anyways, this is how I would contour a short nose. So with Kylie Jenner's nose, I've done the contouring in a very typical manner. Started from the eyebrows, took it all the way to the tip of the nose, contoured underneath the nose, and then I am going to highlight the area in between the two lines. And hopefully you can see that it's giving an appearance of a longer nose. Alright guys, so now moving on to the narrow nose. If you have a narrow nose, then your celebrity twins are Kris Jenner and Estella Warren. So with a narrow nose, you basically want your nose to appear wider. So what you're going to want to do is you are going to take the contour lines further apart. You're going to want to make the contour lines further apart so that it appears that the shadows that are created are at a distance. And then you are going to want to highlight the area in between the two contour lines so that the area in the middle, it also appears wider. And doing this will create the illusion of a wider nose. So you can see here that I have basically made the contour lines a little bit wider and further apart than they actually are on Kris Jenner's nose. And I've highlighted the area in between. Now, I don't know why I contoured the tip of her nose. As I'm looking at this now, I don't feel like it needs to be contoured, but I guess if you want the nose tip to be more defined, you can do that. It really depends. Okay, so for Estella Warren's nose, you can see that I have contoured it in a very typical narrow nose kind of like way. I have drawn the contour lines further apart, even though they're not that far apart. But to be honest, you don't want the other person to look like a clown. You want to kind of like make the contour a little bit natural, so I didn't take it that further apart, and then I highlighted the areas in between. And then because her nostrils are also like really narrow, what I did was I contoured the area after the nostrils, you know, like the area after the nasal flares. And then what that would do is that would make it look like there's a shadow there, and that in turn will make the nostrils appear wider. Alright guys, so now we're gonna move on to the wide nose, and if you have a wide nose, then your celebrity twins are Tyra Banks and Rihanna. Woot woot, Queen Rihanna. Okay, so contouring a wide nose, first of all, you're going to want to draw the two contour lines closer together like I've done here. And obviously if you have a long nose, you're going to start at the crease, or if you have a short nose, you're going to start at the eyebrows. I've started at the eyebrows here because generally I've noticed that wide nose are typically shorter, so that's what I've done. And then obviously you're going to want to contour the tip of the nose, and then you're going to cut the nostrils to how kind of like narrow you want them. Where you want them to stop, you're going to cut them with contour there. And then all of the area after the contour lines, whether it's on the nostrils or on the nose, bridge of the nose, you're going to highlight all of the area after the contour lines, and that is going to make your nose appear more narrow. So you can see here that this is what I have done for Tyra Banks' nose. I have made the contour lines closer together. I've cut the nostrils, and I've highlighted the area after the contour lines on the nose bridge as well as on the nostrils. And I've done pretty much the exact same thing for Rihanna's nose, except I've also highlighted the area in between the contours, and that's because I feel like Rihanna's nose is a little bit kind of like flat, so I want to lift the nose, make it a little bit more protruding. So that's what I've done. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the bottom heavy nose. And if you have a bottom heavy nose, then your celebrity twins are Olivia Wilde and Lea Michele. I really hope that's how you pronounce both of these names. But anyways, a bottom heavy nose is a nose that is wider at the bottom, and as it gets to the top, in between the eyes and the eyebrows, it gets a lot more narrower. So here you can see these both noses are like that. So the first thing that you want to do for a bottom heavy nose is you want to highlight the area in between the eyes and the eyebrows. And you want to do that because you want to give the illusion of a more balanced nose. And you're going to do that by kind of like making the area in between the eyes and the eyebrows appear more wider. So you're going to highlight that area. And then obviously you're going to want to contour the tip of the nose and the nostrils as well. And then you can also see that I've contoured the area in between the eyes, but I have not contoured this on my actual kind of like nose. I've actually made the contour further apart and blended it onto the crease so that it looks like that the shadow that is created by the nose is further apart, and thus is gonna give the illusion of a wider top. But this contouring step is not something that you can do on every face or nose type. That is because some people have close set eyes, which means that the two eyes have less space in between them. So with those type of eyes, you are not going to contour the top of the nose, because that is just going to bring the eyes closer together. So here you can see that we have contoured Lea Michele's nose pretty much in a very typical bottom heavy nose manner. We have highlighted the top of the nose, and then we've contoured the tip of the nose and a little bit of the middle, taking it a little bit further up from there. Also, you can see we're not contouring the taking the contour all the way to the crease of the eye, and that's because the two eyes are very much close together. And yeah, that's basically what we're gonna do. So you can see here that we have done pretty much the same exact thing on Olivia Wilde's face. We have highlighted the top of her nose, contoured the bottom of her nose, the tip of her nose, sorry, and taken the contour a little bit up from there. We've also pushed, highlighted the area after her nostrils a little bit, and that is basically done to increase the contrast between the contour so that the nose appears a little bit more refined and thinner. Alright guys, so now we're going to move on to the bumpy nose. Now I'm going to zoom you guys in for this, and basically I have a bumpy nose too. And the first step when you're going to contour a bumpy nose is you want to look at it from all angles, from all the sides, all the angles basically. And then here you can see the bumps of my nose. You can see there's a bump right here, and it's going to be more prominent when I pull the skin. And there's going to be a bump on the other side as well, which you guys will see here. Now you guys can see it. That's the bump. Alright guys, so the number one tip that I have for you guys when you're contouring your nose is to keep lifting your brush to draw the shape that you want. Because if you just without lifting your brush, you're just making lines, then chances are you're probably just going to follow the natural and the actual structure of your bone. And since it has a bump there, you're actually gonna create an appearance of a bump as well. So instead of following the actual structure of your nose, you want to create another shape. And you're going to do that much more easily if you just keep on lifting your brush and making tiny strokes to create the shape that you want, instead of just, making just one straight line. I hope that makes sense. You don't want to draw one straight line, you just want to create the shape that you want in strokes. Okay, so both of my bumps, they go outwards. So first what I'm going to do is I am basically going to create or draw a contour on top of those bumps to get a good idea about what the shape is. Then what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to make the contour above and beneath the actual bump a little bit wider. And why am I doing that? I am basically doing that because the area where the bump is, since it's going outwards, is creating more of a shadow, a wider shadow outwards than the area above and beneath it. So in order to make the nose appear bumpless, I'm going to make the contour above and beneath the bump a little bit wider so that it balances out the natural contour created by the bump, and the nose appears bumpless. So the beautiful Hareem Farooqi, she has a bump on her nose. So first of all, how I would contour her nose is that first of all I would draw a contour line, and it would be in the shape that I want. And then you can see that I've made the contour above and beneath the bump a little bit wider. And then also on the sides of her nose, the bump, it's a little bit more prominent. So what I've done is I've highlighted the areas above and beneath the bump on the sides of her nose so that they kind of look more leveled out. Okay, so if your bump is the opposite of that, if it goes inwards, what you're going to want to do is you're going to highlight the bump, and then you're going to contour the area above and beneath that. And the size of the contour, or the width of the contour, you're going to keep it the same as the width of the bump. All right, I hope it makes sense. So basically, the contour, you're just going to keep it as thin as the bump is, and that's going to give the illusion of a smooth, bumpless nose. Okay, so we also have the protruding bump where you can see it from the side of the nose, and the bump basically it kind of like is protruded out while the rest of the nose is more flat. So what you want to do with that sort of a bump is basically you want to leave that bump the color of your foundation, and then above and beneath that on the nose bridge, you just want to highlight that bump to make these areas appear a little bit more pushed out, and that in turn is going to give a more leveled appearance of the bump. Now, because this is not surgery, it's not going to appear like completely different, but this will definitely and visibly help in the appearance of the bump. Okay, so moving on to the crooked nose. If you have a crooked nose, then your celebrity twins are Adrien Broody and Ryan Gosling. And you can see that Adrien Broody has a more prominent kind of like crooked nose, whereas Ryan Gosling's nose isn't as prominent. So I'm going to show you guys both the ways basically how you can contour both these noses. But before that, guys, like I said before, this is not surgery, so it's not going to fix it, but you will see a visible difference in the nose shape. So yeah. Also, guys, before I start telling you guys the techniques, please don't be offended. I'm not trying to make fun of anyone. I'm basically just trying to show you guys the techniques. So please don't be offended by anything that I say or do. I am just trying to do my best to explain it to you guys without being offensive. So yeah. Okay, so I'm going to pretend like my nose is going this way, and then I'm going to show you guys how to contour it. So firstly, the side that it's kind of like going towards, I'm going to contour that side. And much like with the bumpy nose, what I am doing is I am not drawing one straight line. Instead, I'm lifting my brush and creating the shape that I want stroke by stroke. Because if I just draw a straight line, I'm going to end up creating the natural, shape. And I am going to highlight the other side. Now, why does this work? Firstly, this works because you're pushing in the side of the nose where it's leaning towards by contouring it, and you're kind of like drawing your eyes towards the other side by highlighting it. And this in turn makes a more straight nose, illusion of a more straight nose. And you can basically see that while I was applying the highlighter, the highlight side, I applied it a little bit too high on the nose, and then I wiped it off. And that's what you want to do. Where your nose starts going towards the other side is the place that you want to start highlighting it. So you can see that Ryan Gosling's nose we've contoured in a very typical way. We've also highlighted the area after the contour to further push that side in, and you can see that it does help a little bit with the nose. His nose isn't that crooked, so you guys won't be able to see that much of a difference. But now we're gonna move on to Adrien Broody, and you guys or Brady, I don't know how to say his name. I don't know if it's an A or an O, I'm not sure, but anyways, I'm going to show you guys how it looks like on him. So here you can see we've contoured the nose in a very typical way that I showed you guys, and we've highlighted the opposite side, and we've contoured the side of the nose that it's leaning towards. The nose is going towards, so we've contoured that side. And yeah, that's how I would contour a crooked nose. Alright guys, and the last nose type that I want to discuss with you guys is the flat nose type. Now in the flat nose type, what happens is that the height of your nasal bridge or your nasal septum is very low, or it's very small, right? and the difference between your cheeks and the highest part of your nose is going to be very small, or it's going to be smaller than usual, right? So in order to contour such a nose type, you are obviously going to want to create some very strong shadows so that it looks like that your nasal bridge is high and it is creating those shadows. So you're going to want to contour your nose all the way from the eyebrows to your kind of like tip, and then the area between that you're going to want to highlight, because that's going to bring that area forward and it's going to look more gratuitous. And so yeah, that was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.